Hello viewers, me and team here, and I am bringing you today an awesome picture of bear cavalry. Yes, this is an example of riding on bears to invade. Possibly I will use this unit in Civ if it ever exists. No, actually the reason that I'm making this video is a little bit of a tutorial on how I record my Civ 5 Let's Plays and my StarCraft matches, and probably how I'm going to do pretty much everything on my PC going forward, at least in the foreseeable future, because I've been having good luck with it and it works for all the software programs I use and not just one or two, like say Taxi did or even Xfire. So, with that being said, let's get down to business. Now, a lot of people like Fraps and other software, but I'm actually using Camstudio, which is freeware. As you can see, it's in the process of recording right now. I actually showed this during one of my Let's Plays. Actually did the most recent one, Club Immortal. So how does this work? Well, you download Camstudio. It's free, it's open source, it's available right here, camstudio.org. And I just have the stable version on, but you know, if you want to go with the beta version, that's fine. Stable version works fine for me. So there you go. You can download it from here, free of charge, no issues there. So once you have that installed on your desktop, and it's straightforward just from the installer, which you can download here as well, instead of just downloading a zip file, you can actually download an installer and be ultra lazy, just the way I like it. Let's bring us back to the Bear Cavalry. Then you have this little screen pop up, and you can set your region, fixed region, click and drag region, or full screen. I just have it on full screen. You can record, stop, pause, stop, but you can actually set hotkeys for that. Let me see if I can find that. Keyboard shortcuts, yes. So I have my record start to mapped to Control F1, stop to Control F2. So yeah, simple stuff there. That's how I start and stop my recordings. Probably the most important thing, make sure you're recording audio if you want to record audio, and most important thing is your video options. This makes a big difference in how the video records, and it's really your most important thing. Go into video options. Okay, here you go. This quality thing, okay, let's start with the codecs. You have your choice from any number of codecs. It will start with Microsoft Video 1 by default. That creates some huge file sizes, but it's not too bad. I wouldn't use it for recording high-end games though, because your frame rate will drag. Also, the file sizes are pretty huge for relatively low quality for that kind of huge file size. I've tried out some other codecs, including FFD Show, Xvid, and all that. But really, the favorite one that I have with Camstudio is this DivX 6.9.2, 2 logical CPUs. It's the one that's worked the best for me, and it's the one that's allowing me to get you high def 720p, and if I had a better computer monitor, maybe even 1080p recordings for YouTube. So that's nice. And DivX you can get here on this page, just www.divx.com, and click free download. DivX is also free, so you don't have to worry about paying for that unless you want to get the Pro version. But even if you don't have the Pro version, you can download an installer and pick what you want. For the purposes of screen capture, you really only need to install the codec. If you want to use the other stuff, that's your prerogative, but I definitely recommend the codec for Camstudio. More Bear Cavalry. So now we go into configuring the codec, and the only thing I really mess with is main, because, well, this stuff, you can do things with it, but I haven't really had to do so. Certification profile, 1080 HD profile, definitely. That's the only one I've found that works well with Camstudio. It's also the highest quality profile, so hey, you kill two birds with one stone there. It's the only one that works and it's the best one. Speed, I'm going towards speed just a little bit, just so that my recordings have a decent frame rate or whatever. Rate control, it doesn't seem to like multipass. I would love to use multipass because the quality would be even better, but it doesn't like it, so I guess you could use that if you had the Pro version or something. So I'm just going with one pass, and 12,000 bitrate. I really hiked up the bitrate. Just play around with that. I think it defaults when you click on 1080 HD. Let's try it. Well, I think it defaults to like 3,000 or 6,000 or something, but I noticed that I could get a little bit better quality by setting it up, so I did so. And for a 15-minute video with these settings, you'll get about a 500 megabyte file size, which YouTube will accept, and it only takes about like a half hour for me to upload a 500 megabyte video. So that's a pretty good compromise, because that allows me to just record a video and upload it straight away. I don't have to do any editing at all after recording it. Very nice for me. That's why I do it this way. But if you want, you could always use Windows Movie Maker, or whatever your maybe Virtual Dub, to compress it into a smaller format before you upload it if your connection's not as good or whatever. That's up to you. Okay, here's something else you'll want to do with Camstudio, and this is something that I was making a mistake on when I did my first Civ Let's Plays, is I had this set to auto adjust, which grays these out, and yeah, it was capturing frames like every let's just put it this way, it was going like 200 frames per second, or at least attempting to do so. So it was really lagging when I was trying to record, say, my first Civilization 4 video. And I couldn't figure it out because I didn't know what I was doing at the time. And so I just switched screen capture software first to Xfire and then later on to Taxi because I didn't know what I was doing. But actually, you can get pretty good capture with just Camstudio. And that's how. You turn off auto adjust. And here you have your frame rates. And the way your frame rates works is playback is your actual frames per second, and capture frames every X milliseconds is how often it's capturing frames. You want these two numbers here to multiply to 1,000. So 40 times 25 is 1,000. You can do 40 25 for a 25 frames per second. Whatever you put in there, you want it to multiply to 1,000, and that's why I'm using 40 frames per second and instead of 30, because when you do 30 frames per second and you go to multiply it by 33, I think it is 0.33333 or whatever, it rounds it. And what that does is you're capturing frames at a different rate than you're playing them back, and it leads to audio desyncing. And you saw some of that in, I think, one of my earliest Pokemon videos or something. I had desynced audio with the frame rate, and that wasn't like a PC issue as it turned out. It was that I had literally told the thing to capture frames and play them back at a different rate, and of course the audio was going to sync with one and not the other. Not so great. So you want these two things to multiply together to 1,000. That's the best way to go. Keep your audio synced with your playback rate, which is always a nice thing. And then through my research, I've had a lot of difficulty trying to figure out what the heck this means. But it seems like from the looks of it, it should match your playback rate. So set keyframes every 40 frames. I think a keyframe is like a frame where it records all the data on the screen rather than just some of it, or something like that, and then trying to fill in the spaces. Or I think the way recording works in general with lossy codecs, which this is a lossy codec, is that it focuses on changes from one frame to the next rather than recording every single frame perfectly. So if you have like a lossless codec, like Camstudio lossless codec, or Xfire definitely uses a lossless codec, and I heard Fraps does as well, you'll get much bigger file sizes. Instead of the 500 megabytes for a 15-minute video, maybe even over 10 gigs sometimes, just huge file sizes. And those you definitely need to convert down if you want to upload those to YouTube. But lossless codecs do offer the best quality potential. So you're making a trade-off when you use a lossy codec. But when you're using a good lossy codec and your settings are okay, you can get pretty good quality that way. So yeah, that's what I use to do my screen capture. I used this setup for probably my last 8 or so StarCraft 2 videos, as well as my entire Let's Play Civ 5 Japan Let's Play, and the most recent Let's Play Civ 5 Club Immortal with the Washington again. All those have been using these settings. So I've been happy with it. As you can see, the actual input rate's a little bit on the low side, but it doesn't seem to cause too much trouble visually. So there you go. That is how I do screen capture. I'll talk about the other ones a little bit the ones that I've experienced with, and also Fraps, which I do not. Fraps is the pretty much most common screen capture software used for games that I'm aware of. You do have to pay for it. It's not that expensive. And I was actually going to get Fraps if I couldn't figure out how to get Camstudio working, because I was tired of I was tired of dealing with all the issues. So Fraps is something you can look into. I would recommend asking somebody who has experience with it if you wish to use it. But it is available, and it is very well known for its screen capture for games. So that's one thing you could do. Another thing you could do is Xfire. Now the problem with Xfire is that the game has to be available for Xfire to record it. So like if I wanted to record an emulation game, well, if Xfire doesn't support that, I can't do it. Or if I wanted to record StarCraft 2 right when it came out, well, Xfire didn't support StarCraft 2, so I couldn't do it. Same thing with Civ 5 initially. So there's a bit of a frustration with that. You have a limit when it comes to Xfire, but a lot of my later Civ 4 videos were done in Xfire, and they were pretty good looking. So, I mean, it's a lossless codec, it has huge file sizes, you have to convert them down, but they do look nice, and if it supports your game and you want to use it, Xfire is a good option. The other one I used is Taxi, which claims to be based on Fraps. Unfortunately, Taxi cannot record game audio, although I generally do not record game audio anyway because I am on a headset. But if I wanted to, I could split it on 2 speakers and bring you guys sound. Maybe I'll do that in the future. But the way Taxi works is any type of DirectX or OpenGL program, you can do something called an application hook, or that's what Taxi calls it anyway, app hook, and record it that way, and you'll see like a little green thing at the top left of the screen around in this area right here when you're doing that with Taxi, and it'll turn red when you tell it to record or press the record hotkey. So that works pretty well. It seems to be more processor intensive. I had trouble recording my first Civ 5 Let's Play while using it, and you got all that visual and audio distortion, which I'm actually not getting with Camstudio, ironically. Camstudio has been doing quite well with both Civ 5 and StarCraft 2. So Taxi has the limitation of needing a DirectX or OpenGL program so that it can hook onto it. Like it won't recognize, say, ZSNES or something. So again, some limitations there, and of course it's not going to app hook a something like Firefox very well. So if I wanted to show you Camstudio page, for example, using Taxi, you would get quite some nasty distortion. But if you're using Taxi, I suggest that you go with the FFD show codec. And there's a lot of options there. You're really going to have to play with them like crazy and know your stuff. But you can get some pretty nice looking stuff that way. So that concludes my little bit of a tutorial on the screen capture software and my explanation for why I'm using Camstudio and also how I use Camstudio to reasonably good effect, I think. So, yep, that takes care of this tutorial. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video, which will be a game. The Me and Team signing off.